Good day, hi, and welcome. All right, so in my $500 truck series, I love this $500 truck. Okay, how much do you have to make or spend on it to get a good truck? Unfortunately, there's no answer for that, and I'll tell you why. Because you can buy a $40,000 truck that breaks down on you the day you buy it. You know what I mean? You can buy a $500 truck like this that gives you no problems for years, or it could break down, 20 miles down the road. You know what I mean? Why would you say that? Well, number one, it's a vehicle. Number two, it really depends who had it. I got uncle's discount on this one. My uncle he bought a little what do you call it, GMC Canyon, and it was 6-cylinder, and he downgraded from this to that. But this is a 2002, and there was, it needs a safety next year. Hence why he's like, well, they're $500 because you're only going to get a year out of it, unless you can find a way to re-safety it. Which, give me a couple of years, I'll get this thing running pretty good. And safety, I got to fix all the rust, all that stuff. So it means I got to get another truck anyway by the end of the season. So I have till next June. But how much do you got to spend? Well, it really depends on who owned your truck. I would never buy a truck, for example, from a 25-year-old. Why? Because I know that truck probably hasn't been really worked, but it's probably done more brake stands than a Cirque du Soleil. Like it's just sitting there smoking tires all the time. That unless you mechanically, the truck is mechanically sound, and like the first indication is how stock is it. For me, as soon as I see a truck that's been modified, it's been modified to do burnouts. You know what I mean? Like these trucks, stock, it's even a truck like this. This truck is like anything but impressive, right? It's smooth. The cams on these things are almost round. Like when you you jam this pedal, it goes. The truck goes, but it's not like and go. It's just a smooth linear because this engine is designed to be extremely smooth. It's a V8, but and trust me, it goes. It gets up to the speed limit quick, but it's very smooth and linear for pulling, right? So if you got a trailer behind, it's not like, like that. You're not hopping the front end on it and really hard on the back. It's a very linear pull so that you can tramp on it without just, breaking the back end loose all the time, right? It's a work truck. It's not a performance truck. So how much you got to spend? Well, what I find is it depends on a few things. These trucks that are like early 2000s, you seem to be able to get these things in, say, on the low end. I got an anomaly at $500, but $1,500 to $2,500 will probably get you into a truck like this with more rust on it. This is my worst spot. Just, for comparison, I'll show you the other side. Got a bit of rust there. So this is my $500 truck. In this condition, you can see there's no rust here. There's no rust under the bumper. This truck is actually pretty good. Like, there's no rust here, no rust here. My cab corner, just starting. The rockers are gone, but the cab corners are pretty good. And I've oil sprayed all that the best I can for now. But the point is this truck would be probably about $3,000, $2,500 to $3,000 in this condition. Nothing really wrong with it. The only thing that I have is the one sensor for the oil pressure thing. I think that's starting to go. Other than that, the cruise control button thing, I have the part, I just have to put it in, and my ABS sensor's on. That's it. That's all that's wrong with this truck, except for the rust. So that's probably where you're going to be spending money on this truck. Almost every truck I've seen in the early 2000s is pretty much $3,000 to $5,000. That seems to be, if they're in okay shape. At $4,000 to $6,000, you could probably find yourself an immaculate truck of this year with virtually no rust on it, well taken care of, all that stuff. In immaculate, you're looking at $20,000. But those are trucks that are they're show trucks at that point. They're not like a work truck like this. You got from say 2004, 2008, you can find trucks $4,000 to $6,000. It seems to be where they're starting. but they're rough, really, really rough. You get the odd one that's an anomaly. Those trucks, they don't start to really clean up and look good and be in good condition until you get to like six, seven, $8,000, and then on the high side, 15 grand, something like that for something that's good. Say anything, say 2010 and newer, pretty much 10 grand and up. You know what I mean? That's pretty much what we're going to pay. But we're talking trucks that are in good shape. Good shape. Now, if you're talking about the truck that's been worked to death, a fleet truck that's got like 8 million dents on, but no rust, just because it's just been a work truck, sometimes you get a really good deal on that. And if you don't care about the aesthetics of the truck, look for the truck with the dent in it. I saw it was a 2012 F350. Big ass dent in the side. The paint wasn't even chipped. Probably something that you could probably get one of those body working suction cups and pull it out. And it was like 8 grand. And I was just like, this is a 350. And this truck was like, carpet was clean. You know what I mean? Like it was like it was a beautiful truck. I just didn't have the money. Whoever bought that truck, if they bought it to work it, like, I mean, and didn't care about that dent, like you can get a good deal on a truck if you know what to look for. Like if a taillight smashed out, okay, and the guy takes off 4 grand because the taillight smashed out, okay, fine, but how much is it for the taillight? You want to check that stuff out because maybe that taillight's 8 grand. Like I shit you not, there's some vehicle parts are stupid. One nice thing about these old F-150s and the 4.6 liter engine, there's more F-150s in the world than probably any other vehicle. It's the #1 selling vehicle in the United States is, I think, an F-150. It even outsells the Ford Ranger, believe it or not. Everybody wants the big trucks, right? The 4.6 liter engine, this engine was used in probably 20 different Ford cars, like the Town Car, the Lincoln, I think the Lincoln Town Car, the Ford Interceptor, the Ford, what's the Blazer, not the Blazer, the Suburban, the Mustangs. Parts, no problem, right? So something to consider. Parts are no problem for these trucks. It's almost to the point where you go to a scrap heap, like a scrapyard garage type thing, and you say, okay, I want to get parts for my F-150 off a donor truck. Well, what color of truck do you want it off of? You know what I mean? Like I only want to take parts off the red truck so it all matches, right? Because there's so many of them, right? But like any vehicle, you have to have it checked out, or if you get it cheap enough, you just run it into the ground until you can afford something better. I don't really like doing that, but when you get them at a certain price and like the truck is terminal, so to speak, where it's like, okay, you're only going to get a year, maybe 2 years out of it anyway. You don't want to put a lot of money in investment in it. Make your money with it. Get it as cheap as you can. But again, try to get something that's as good a condition as possible. Like underneath this bed liner, the box is immaculate. The crossers, they're not bad. If I take this box off this year and have it redone, or if I can get another box for it, which I might be able to find a box for it for the right year in immaculate condition with matching paint, then I got myself I just increased the value of the truck to six grand, you know what I mean? Because there's no rust anywhere else. Check out the engine. Look at the history with these old F-150 with the 4.6 and the 5.4 liter engines. There was 2 major issues with them. Well, they're not major issues. The more serious one is the plugs tend to pop out of them once in a while. It happened to this truck once, not with me, but with my uncle. But there is a fix for it. So they've got a little sleeve that they put on they didn't drill the heads in, the threads into the heads for the spark plugs deep enough. And that's why sometimes the plugs will blow out, but on those engines. But other than that, the only other thing was on the cam chain sliders, the little plastic pieces over time tend to break off and end up going into your sump and blocking your oil pump, which will make your oil pump sensor go up and down as if there's no oil in the truck, which I think is what happened to this one. I'll know as soon as I take the oil pan off of it in the fall or whatever. That's probably, but other than that, these 4.6s run forever, right? So I'm not, trying to sell you a Ford, but you can look at stuff like that. The rear end in the Fords are really, really good. Again, unless the 25-year-old was doing burnouts with it, but that's any truck. Because a lot of guys will call a truck shit, but these are guys that usually abuse the shitballs out of the trucks, and they're just surprised when they break it. And well, I broke my Dodge, so their Dodge are no good. Or I broke my Chevy, so their Chevy no good. Ford, etc., etc. But the Fords are known for really good back ends. My buddy, he likes his Dodge because he goes. I asked him what he liked about it, what he likes about the Dodges in general, and what he doesn't. And what he said, he loves the engines. The 4.9 liter engines are, the Hemis are, they're beasts, right? He goes, great for pulling. He says the suspension's light. What he didn't like was that on all the Dodges, he has a 2007 and a 2017. And the same thing, he says the back ends on them are really light. He says it was Ford builds a better back end, in his opinion. But he says the Dodge more pulling power, and typically you can see the numbers for yourself, and you can see that. So everybody's got to, and then of course my other friend, he has a Sierra, and he just loves that thing. I love that thing. It's a nice looking truck. This is 2012 or whatever. That truck is never ever has a trailer not being behind it full of something. He hauls wood with it, and gravel and whatever, and it's only a 1500 series, and reg cab, 8-foot box. Thing's a beast of a truck. It served him well. It never seems to really break down or anything. So yeah. So but he paid about 12 grand for it. So, but he's made his money too. So yeah, you don't have to spend as much. It's more the quality than the price, I guess, is really what you're looking for. Anyway, I'll leave it at that.